What's going on, everybody? Daniel here with Driving Time, and I am on my way to pick up Mr. Nick Maciel from En Route. So I don't know a whole lot of details about En Route other than he is pushing forward with a movement for veterans and suicide awareness and anxiety and depression, and giving them tools to really help cope, and created this network of people all that served in the military branches and their families to really help eliminate some of this veteran suicide issues that we're facing right now, and at an alarming rate. So I'm going to let him talk a little more about it once I pick him up, because he has a lot more details, obviously. But I am truly humbled by what he is doing, where his heart is, and I cannot wait to get some answers to a few questions that I have and see what kind of drove him to decide to do that. And we're lucky because we're catching him in his infancy. So it started off with a Facebook group, and they're expanding very quickly. I want to say 2 weeks ago he started this group, and in like a 10-day period it was like 20 followers or 20 people on that page, and now it's approaching 4,000 already and growing by the minute. So I'm really excited for this. I'm about to pick him up, and once I get him, let's show him some love. All right, we're finally here to grab Nick. There he is. So we're just picking him up and we'll get started. Whew, there he is. Sorry, it's cold.
Oh, a little bit.
How are you doing? Back you can. My man. Welcome to my car studio.
This is pretty neat.
It's just nice basic stuff.
Where are we headed?
Wherever we need. I guess cruise the city, looking around.
Sounds good.
Kind of seeing what's around. So I know we talked a little bit earlier, but why don't you give the people that watch these videos and our podcast listeners just a little bit of a rundown about yourself, kind of personally.
Okay. Without going crazy into information, been in the military for about 12 years. Married, got one kid. She's 9.
Nice.
Got 5 deployments. One Afghanistan, two Afghanistan, 1 Iraq. And then of course 2 training rotations, 1 to Europe and then 1 to Kuwait. Just living the dream. I mean, been currently in school for psychology to become a therapist. And yeah, I mean, I'm active at working out and just staying as best of shape as I can. And of course our phone's gonna go off every 5 minutes, and I'll shut that darn thing off.
I have to put mine on airplane mode, otherwise work blows up.
All right.
So I talked a little bit earlier just about what En Route is, but if you could kind of explain more in detail for them, like what exactly is En Route?
Yeah. So En Route, it's pretty much a veterans, whether you're active duty, your family, or your prior service, and it's any branch. And the main focus is to be an outreach program with an open forum where we can seek out help, talk about our issues, rather that's what's going on, the demons that we're fighting internally, and we're inside of what I call a family that allows us to be open and not have to worry about being judged by a therapist or psychologist or anything like that. And it just allows us to be comfortable with what's going on with us. It's we're not a non-profit organization. There's no income. It's just a big family of everybody helping each other.
That's cool.
So
I like that. So then ultimately, what is the goal of En Route? Like, what are you trying to accomplish with it?
Okay, so as far as accomplishments and our goals, I'd say, biggest goal, of course, is to knock down the percentage of, suicides and within our military and veteran community, and even family members, because they go through, just as much stress and anxiety from what we're working through. So, one less or one more life saved is the goal. And how I got it set up on the page is, you get added to the group or invited, go on there, you go over to the album section, find your state and or country, because we're of course overseas as well, and you drop your cell phone number, your home phone number, and what town or city you're in. So the idea behind it is, somebody gets on there, reaches out in whatever state or country you're in, and they can either do it themselves, or the people who run the Face Group book, like myself, reach out, get a contact information, and get somebody to them as fast as possible, so they can either, if it's super emergency, they can go, get them to a hospital, get them to behavioral health, Medicare, medical physicians and so on, or just to have a good friend to sit there and talk about what's going on, and to get them through that rough patch and that hard day.
Yeah.
So,
oh man, that's awesome. So why do you feel why is it so important to you to start this? So what was that motivation to kind of kick this off?
Well, there's it's sad, but it's just the fact of what it is, I've lost more friends than I can count, throughout the years, and, 4 within about the past 30 days. And then the day I made the Facebook group, I found out another close friend of mine had took his own life. And my own brother, he was a veteran as well. He retired and unfortunately took his own life. My dad's brother, same way. So I'm pretty familiar with what's going on. I'm a suicide survivor myself. I tried to take my own life about 3 years ago, January 2017, something like that. Thank God it wasn't successful. So
just kind of like your motivation
yes.
behind it was so you had, like, obviously your brother and then close friends that took their own lives,
right?
And so when he took his own, your friend that you found out took his own life, Friday. So did you find that out before you made that Facebook group? Was that kind of like your final, like, this needs to happen? Because
not initially, but I found out on lunch. Mutual friends of mine, they got a hold of me and started giving me the details, and I was shocked. I mean, I had just talked to him 4 days prior. We were talking about linking up and getting a good workout in when he gets some time off, and there was no red flags, no nothing. And I was just like, man, I have to do something, and I'm going to school to become a therapist and help people out, but until I get there, what can I do in the meantime? And my wife had talked to me, and she goes, well, you need to start calling your friends and checking in, but we're busy, we have a lot of lives, our own lives, and it's it's kind of hard to touch bases when your friends group is so
right.
big through 12 years of the military. So and she goes, well, you can start a group chat. And I was like, yeah. I was like, maybe. Well, I'd been sitting there and I thought about it all day, and I was like, what the heck am I gonna do? And she got home, and I was like, would you help me set up this Facebook group? I was like, I just kind of want to add all my friends from Fort Riley and Fort Campbell and wherever else I've been, and that way we can, we'll have this social media platform, and we can all talk because we all know each other. And she's like, yeah, sure. And so I started spitballing ideas, writing up rules and stuff, because my personal opinion is, if we're in there to help each other, politics, race, religion, all that stuff does not apply. Right. I mean, if on the page, you want to post something that's motivating that has to do with religion, sure, I have no problem with that, because there's a lot of religious people out there and there's not a lot of not.
Try to stay neutral, kind of.
Yeah.
Keep it for what it's about.
Exactly.
Try to spin it for a different platform.
Exactly.
Right.
So, I made those rules, said, hey, listen, we're not going to be putting that out there. This isn't a place to sell your stuff. This is just a comfortable place that we can all talk and put out good information about where to go or people to talk to, or reach out and connect with friends and stuff like that. So that's kind of where it went. And before you knew it, it just took off.
It blew up like C4.
Yeah. So I got friends calling me. They're like, "Hey man, this is a great idea. We've never seen anything like this. There's tons of nonprofits and suicide this and suicide that, but but there's nothing where we're comfortable and have something that's on deck, and that is super super easy to use. I mean,
right.
It's completely user friendly. Almost anybody's on social media nowadays.
True.
So it just made it super easily and applicable to your everyday life. So that's we just let it go, and I was like, yeah, sure, more the merry. More people, more knowledge, more help.
I mean, that thing is blown up. Like, you're pushing like 4,000 followers. Like,
getting close.
It's like, it's
getting close.
You look at that page 2 hours later, there's like 30 more people, like 20 more people.
Yep, absolutely.
And it's just a constant, which is awesome because, like you were saying, with all these other nonprofits that are out there, the one thing that they're lacking is the veteran connection.
Exactly.
So what you've done, and you're being humble about this, but what you have done is uncovered getting these veterans to talk to each other about a problem because they know they aren't going to be judged, and they're reaching out to these people that, like, hey, I'm having this problem, like, I'm struggling with this, and then you have a guy that comes in and it's like, hey, like, I struggle with this too, here's what I did about it,
right.
Here's what you can do, and you take that
coping mechanisms.
Absolutely. It's just like, because it's somebody that's been there.
Exactly.
Right.
And that was my whole thought process. Is there's a lot of guys out there, men and women, of every different walk of life, throughout the military, past and present. And I was like, we have so much knowledge locked inside. Why can't we share and keep helping each other out? Because, you always hear all the time, oh yeah, I'll get a hold of you or whatever, and it never happens.
Right.
But when it's popping up on your phone or popping up on your computer screen, it's in your face, and you're like, oh, well, let's go see what they're saying.
It's constant.
And you're like, oh, my brother or sister needs help. Right. So let's make it happen. So it's quick, it's instant. So it's a great deal. I'm super happy with it. In a sense, kind of scared and nervous too, because there's so many different ways to go with it. But like you said, it's not really just modesty; it's just who I am.
Right.
I've kind of always been like this, helping people. I mean, there's probably a lot of people, if they watch this, they'd be like, "Yeah, he's helped me here and there," and I'm not boasting about it, but it's just my passion. I like helping people. I like seeing people do better or succeed in whatever they're doing. But yeah, it's a good feeling.
Absolutely. I mean, that's true fulfillment.
Oh yeah,
and a lot of people
it's a feel good thing. Yeah, you I can go to bed every night and rest easy, knowing that I'm morally straight, and I'm not doing something that's shady or trying to make income off somebody else's problems or anything like that. Right. And I can go to bed and be like, I helped another person today, or I saved another person today, and it's a phenomenal feeling.
I think it's awesome. It's just crazy awesome. But you touched base on coping tips, like briefly. Do you have any specific like coping tips that you've noticed that works, or like a lot of people talk about it, that this type of thing has helped them?
Oh yeah,
kind of give somebody some insight.
So there's a million one coping mechanisms, and realistically, what it comes down to is what's going to make you happy or get you out of those dark times, that mindset, or that bad day. Like me, I'm a big gym guy, so I go in there and I let out my my depression, my anger, my anxiety, whatever is really hitting me that day. And I like doing a little small motor mechanicking and working and tinkering and doing stuff like that, so that really gets me relieved. But I got a lot of people have reached out, who are huge into video games, and they've already set up connections through our Facebook group, and they're all linking in and playing video games with each other and getting to talk through that. I got guys who are posting music videos about them going to music school, art, whatever their passions are, and I'm letting them run with it because, I'm not the subject matter expert in their coping mechanism,
right.
but I'm definitely going to be one of their biggest supporters because, just because it's not my coping mechanism doesn't mean it won't help them or help somebody.
And well, I mean, as big as your group's getting too, that means there's at least probably one other person that has that same
absolutely.
coping, and then they can kind of create, maybe they'll collaborate in music or art or.
Oh yeah,
that's
100%.
That's one of the coolest things. Like when I noticed when I read through the page, the one guy, there's one guy that reached out on the page that was really, really, really struggling, and the outpour. I mean, there was 160 comments on this guy's post.
Yep.
All these people reaching out to help him in a 12-hour period.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's not like you created this page and nobody's interacting. It's blown up with people, but it's interactive people.
It's very interactive.
Everybody wants to help and support each other, and it's just crazy.
Well, and I'm not trying to bash the military. I'm really not, because the military has its pros and cons, just like any job.
Right.
But a lot of us, active duty and veterans are we're tired of losing our family. People that we went to combat with or went to field training exercises or anything like that, and we're losing them, left and right. And we're like, what is going on? Why can we not help them? And speaking just based off the Army, and I'm not entirely sure what the other branches are doing to prevent suicide, but it just seems like a check the block for the Army. They talk about these programs, and once a month or once every 90 days you do a suicide prevention class and what to look for and everything like that. And it just kind of looks like it's trying to cover their shortcomings. Because a lot of my fellow veterans and families will tell you, there's a lot of times you get looked down upon for asking for help or even held back in your career. A lot of the times, if you go into behavioral health and you need to talk to an expert, all of a sudden you're getting flagged in a sense for certain broadening assignments in the military because they're deeming you as not stable. And stability, I've seen a lot of people who are been through horrible trauma who are the most stable people you've ever met.
Right.
And it's just not true. It's how we have to cope with it, and who are you talking to, and are you seeing the right people about getting through what you've experienced.
Right.
So it's I'm just trying to do something that the military's not. And and like you said earlier, one person saved, it just and I know for a fact we've saved probably 15 people. It hasn't even been 2 weeks.
So that's at least one a day that you're helping save, and indirectly.
Exactly.
So direct and indirect, you're making you're leaving a big footprint.
Yeah. So we just knowing that we've saved just a few lives, I've already reached my goal. I've already knocked down the percentage of how many we're losing. So I was just floored. I mean, I got really emotional the Friday, or so it'd be Saturday morning after I made it, because I posted this 2 Fridays ago at 10 p.m. and I got a message that Saturday morning from a kid. He was probably young 20s, about mid 20s, and he's like, "Hey, I'm just letting you know your page saved me." And I was like, "Well, that's phenomenal." I was like, "Well, what happened?" And he goes, "Well, last night one of the night workers, that's a civilian vet, saw me post that I was going through some hard times, and he immediately left work and got to me."
Oh wow!
And he sat there and he talked with me and made sure I was good. And he's like, I'm not gonna lie, he's like, up until he got to my house and I had my mind made up that I didn't need to be here anymore. And I was, I responded the best I could through
Right.
tears and excuse me, and typing to him. And I was like, I'm so happy that we were able to help you. I was like, you just stay in touch with us, and it just was a great feeling. And then come Sunday morning after I left church, another similar incident, and there's just one after another, and I'm like, all right, well, we're just gonna keep going with this and see where it goes, and just keep helping out the best we can.
And that's got to be like the most rewarding feeling.
Oh, yeah.
I can't imagine
Absolutely.
how that would feel to be
Absolutely.
I just, like, by just creating this one page that probably took you 20 minutes to put everything together.
Yeah, something about
all
that.
of a sudden just saved all these lives, and you probably had no idea the amount of impact that you were about to make.
I mean, I could pull up my phone and just show you the vast amount of messages from people, giving me, their kind words of, reassurance that, hey, I appreciate you making this group, or, I got to talk to this guy that I haven't talked to in years, and we're reconnecting, and it got me out of a dark place, and I'm just like, this is amazing. This is, one of the best gifts I've ever had, in my life, and it just came from a spur of the moment of idea of, why isn't this happening? Well, let me just make it.
Yeah.
So
It's got to be surreal.
it is. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, we're not even at 2 weeks. It'll be 2 weeks this Friday, and it just doesn't hit. It hasn't hit for me because I keep, all these people are messaging me and they're like, "Oh yeah, this is great." I'm just like, just helping out, man. Like it's really, it's kind of my normal everyday of just helping people. I mean, it's a great feeling, but it just, I'm just helping. That's all I can do is helping the best I can.
I mean, that's commendable for sure. So what would you say then, what drives you? Like, what is your inspiration? Like, what would you, like, if you had to pick one thing that fuels my fire, that gets me, that just lights me up, I'm ready to rock, like, I'm so fired up. Like, what would you say that is for you?
Well, it's kind of about 2 or 3 things, I guess. One, when I get told, hey, we saved a life, that's probably, just more fuel to fire, just gets me going even more. Especially, after my brother, unfortunately took his life, I seen what it does to a family in the hole it leaves, and the questions and everything like that. So it pushes me to know that happens. And then when you get a message from a spouse that's like, hey, our marriage was going to crap until this group, and my husband or significant other, what have you, has been doing better because he's had friends to reach out to. So that's just an amazing feeling. It's kind of just this one big ball of go.
Yeah.
And so I can't really say, I can't pinpoint it.
So making impact, knowing that you impacted somebody,
Right.
is would you say that's kind of your inspiration, like just knowing that you impacted?
Yeah, like, I mean,
Like in a positive way.
I imagine it'd be like anything that somebody starts. If we didn't have, family members in this group that are, if there was nobody interacting and nothing was happening or anything like that, I'd be like, well, I guess, it was a failed attempt. But you just keep seeing more and more of, it spreading and helping, and I'm just like, let's just push. Let's push. And I couldn't ask for anything more. Like, it's awesome.
I love watching it grow. Like, every day I get on there and see how many more people, I read the comments, just seeing the positivity and the outpouring of support like that. I've never seen that in anything in my life.
Yep, exactly.
And I have a huge background in oncology, and not even then did I see that amount of outpouring and support, which I just think is the coolest thing.
Well, and that's another thing is, and I'm not trying to knock our world we live in right now, but it just, outside the veteran community and even in parts of some of the veteran community, we've forgotten the human condition and the caring about others, and it's really sad and emotional if you sit down and think about it. Whether you're a veteran or not, the people we pass on the street every day that nobody really seems to take notice or care about. And I'm not, whenever I pass on into the next life or whatever somebody's belief is where we're going, I'm going to be able to, take my last breath and be like, you know what? I didn't stop caring about others, because I feel like we should all care about others, regardless if you agree with them, disagree with them. I got friends of every different political views, and they love the fact that, we might disagree with them on it, but, if they treat me good and I treat them well, I still care about them, because they're still a human being and they're still a nice and loving person, I could probably not care about somebody regardless, but if they're in a bad way, I'm still going to help them out, because it's the kind thing to do. But,
That's tough.
And it is tough sometimes.
It's tough. You just see people that can't see eye to eye, like disagree, and now they hate each other. It's like,
oh yeah,
like
yeah,
you can disagree with a stance on certain things. I mean, there's
Right.
there's lines, obviously, but you can disagree on certain things and still kindle a friendship and still have love for that person. And
it's just something you don't talk about sometimes.
Absolutely,
you just be like, oh, well, we're not going to talk about
they
that
want
subject.
that to be the backbone of their conversation.
Yep.
And it's just hard to differentiate, I guess, sometimes.
Absolutely.
So the normal last question that I ask in these interviews is, it's like painting a hypothetical picture. So we're painting a picture here. So when you're gone from this life, like when you pass on, you get a chance to leave behind one thing, like a legacy, one thing you learned in this life that everyone else should know, or one thing that will impact somebody else.
Man, that's a pretty heavy question, realistically. But
Surprise.
yeah, if I was gonna say, if I was to leave something behind for, say my daughter or anybody that comes after me, and hopefully one day I'm a granddad, but is to never stop helping people and caring about them. And even the smallest acts of kindness goes a long ways. You don't have to go out here and buy somebody a house or do really extravagant gifts or anything like that, but just a simple, how are you doing today, and because most of us, if you can see if somebody's having a bad day,
Mm-hmm.
and just be like, we have time, there's 24 hours in a day.
Right.
You have 5 to 10 minutes out of your day to stop and ask somebody how they're doing.
Right.
So yeah, I guess it would just, I want to leave behind, trying to be kind and sometimes put your pride aside that, okay, no matter what my feelings are right now, I still need to care for this person, and I see my daughter already following in my footsteps. She, she's always telling me, well, Dad, that's really nice that you helped somebody out, or always doing something, and she's 9, so she's not completely unknown to the technology world. So, she hears me and the wife talking about this group, and I told her I was gonna get to meet with you today, and she goes, Dad, she's like, it's just so awesome. And so she followed on to tell me that there's a kid, he's got a bad autoimmune disease, and he's pretty much stuck in a house right now until they get it on lock. And she's like, Dad, because I always see you helping people, I'm gonna make a get well card for him to make him feel better, and she's like, and I don't know what else I could do. And I was like, baby, that's realistically about all you can do right now.
Right.
I was like, but if something comes up for him, donations or something like that, I was like, you let me and Mom know, and we'll see what we can do to help him out. But I just love seeing that, unintentionally I'm instilling, kindness with my daughter. And I mean, she's a kind and sweet person anyways. I don't really have to do too much there, but she does love the fact that, I have so many, whether it's good friends or just acquaintances who know me, and they're like, oh, well, your dad helped me move some things, or mowed my lawn, or, helped me through tough times and stuff like that. And she's just like, Dad, I want to be like you. And I was floored by that, because I never thought I'd ever hear a 9-year-old, say, one day I want to be like you. it felt really good. You know, it was one of those times you gotta, you know, suck it up
I'm
a little
not
bit.
crying.
I'm not
You're
crying.
crying.
You know, and she, you know, she's a great kid. But I'm glad to see that's what I'm leaving behind for her.
That's the epitome of leaving a legacy behind.
Oh yeah.
To impact like your children like that, to be able to follow in your foot. I mean, we need more dads that are involved like that can leave a legacy for their kids that teach them that. I mean, just the world we live in is just very different than what we grew up as kids.
Oh man,
And so
tremendously
it's
different.
really cool to see you. So I applaud you for that, to raise your
appreciate
daughter
it.
that way, and I applaud what you're doing in this en route and everything. I mean, this is just one of the coolest things I've ever witnessed, and so I have to obviously thank you for taking the time to sit here
It's my pleasure.
and drive around all over Kingdom Come with me.
Oh, good old Kansas.
And take a look at all the flat, dead grass that we have.
It's very brown.
But I mean, like even in the dead of winter and the deadness around us, like I just even talking to you and about what you're doing, I can just sense this electricity.
Yeah.
And so like and I'm inspired now. And like now I just want to do something and impact people. I want to go out there and do that too. And make a difference.
And that's kind of what I hope for. I hope it becomes infectious and that we can all just kind of keep rolling it over and you know, getting people out of this bad mindset of you know, being in a bad way. And you know, I mean, that's probably going to be the greatest thing, is if, you know, even a few people, if it betters the world, I mean, why not?
Yeah.
I mean, what's the harm going to be? So.
Well, I appreciate it, man.
Absolutely.
So thanks again.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Nick, hey, take it easy.
All right.